Unlisted videos, insider drops. The only way in is through my private SMS list.
You guys are not going to believe what President Trump just posted today. The president shared a powerful clip from a 2024 Texas Senate hearing featuring a former Google engineer turned whistleblower. The testimony details how the tech giant used an internal program called machine learning fairness to shape public opinion and suppress dissenting voices ahead of the 2020 election. In the footage, Zach Voorhees explains that this massive censorship system aimed to program Americans to align with Google's corporate values. Most striking of all, the video President Trump posted explicitly references this channel, Next News Network, by name. So what exactly did this whistleblower uncover, and why is the president resurfacing it now? I'm going to tell you, because this issue touches every American who's ever searched for independent perspectives online. Viewers across the country turn to platforms like YouTube for unfiltered reporting, only to find their preferred channels throttled or removed without explanation. The loss of access fragmented communities and left millions wondering whether the information they received reflected reality or corporate and governmental preferences. Politically, the whistleblower testimony described a deliberate effort to influence national elections through algorithmic control. Such power concentrated in one company's hands threatens the foundation of informed self-government. When citizens cannot trust the platforms that deliver news and debate, participation in the democratic process weakens. The United States government has already acknowledged its coordination in federal court. Yes, documents through the Missouri versus Biden consent decree. President Trump's decision to highlight this testimony reinforces that restoring open discourse remains a central priority administration. See, President Trump didn't stop at a single post, though. He shared the same video twice on Truth Social, once as a direct upload and again as a quote of General Flynn's earlier post. And the timing adds weight. In January of 2026, President Trump issued Executive Order 14149, directing the Department of Justice to investigate government involvement in social media censorship. Just weeks later, the DOJ entered the Missouri v. Biden consent decree, formally acknowledging past government pressure on platforms to suppress speech. The president is now placing this evidence before the public once more. And when I saw this, I could not believe my eyes. The president posting the video of the Texas Senate committee hearing where our channel was invoked by Zach Voorhees, the Google whistleblower. This is the video that was posted by the President of the United States just hours ago.
I was a Google engineer for 8.5 years and a whistleblower against Google in 2019, risking my career and livelihood to warn the public about Google's plans to meddle in the 2020 election using a program called machine learning fairness.
Grant, we had a unanimous vote. Every Republican and every Democrat authorized me as the chair to issue these subpoenas.
If you've used Google Earth or YouTube for game
that was Senator Brian Hughes. He is the chairman of that committee who was tasked by the Attorney General Paxton to find out about big tech interference in elections. And the result of that request by Paxton is this hearing. So this committee was a charge of Paxton himself to get to the bottom of it.
Consoles, you're familiar with my work. Let's talk about Google's censorship AI system called Machine Learning Fairness. I discovered this program while searching for information about Project Dragonfly, probably a fake project meant to misdirect the public. Make no mistake, Machine Learning Fairness is and has always been the real censorship program, and it is massive. The goal was to, quote, program the public to align with Google's corporate values. Those are their words.
But it's wrong for anyone to have this kind of power to manipulate American elections. And he's right. And in Texas, we're not going to stand for it. We're going to shine a light on what they're doing so that everybody can see.
Step 1, training data are collected and classified. Step 2, algorithms are programmed. Step 3, media are filtered, ranked, aggregated, or generated. And step 4, people like us are programmed. That's a direct quote from their slides. And it wasn't just in one slide, it was littered throughout the company. This process was repeated in a cycle, with step 4 feeding back into step 1. This sounds like something out of a conspiracy theory, but it's real. Google rewrote their news algorithms, specifically trained on mainstream media stories targeting Trump, such as his fight with Comey. Systems like real-time events, real-time boost, and Hivemind assign higher amplification scores to stories related to targeting Trump. Google's internal documents revealed their stance on, quote, algorithmic unfairness. They stated that even factually accurate representations could be considered algorithmically unfair and removed. And let me just quote them. For example, imagine a Google image query for CEOs shows predominantly men. Even if it were a factually accurate representation of the world, it would be algorithmic unfairness. In some cases, it may be appropriate to take no action if the system accurately reflects current reality, while in other cases, it may be desirable to consider how we might help society reach a more fair and equitable state via either product intervention or broader corporate social responsibility efforts, end quote.
Social engineering.
Let's talk about news ranking. News sites that supported Democrats were ranked with the highest quality and trustworthiness. Here's a partial list. Wall Street Journal, 8.53. CBS News, 6.57. CNN, 6.0. Fox News, 5.2. Russia Today, 4.57. The Young Turks, 2.53. Alex Jones Network, negative 1.56. At the bottom of the list is Next News Network at negative 3.35. Let me reiterate, the foreign propaganda outlet Russia Today was scored 7 points higher than the Next News Network, one of the top YouTube news networks in America. Since my disclosure, Next News Network has been permanently demonetized and will soon be bankrupted. These sound more like the actions we'd expect from a Russian propaganda complex. But shockingly, it's the actions of Google. At YouTube, I observed 40 different AIs classifying videos under various labels. Influencers like Dave Rubin were labeled as right-wing news outlets with fake news labels. The justification was always user safety. But in 2020, this system of censorship went so far as to ban mentions of vitamin C, turmeric, and vitamin D during the pandemic.
Anything that is medically unsubstantiated, so people saying like, take vitamin C, take turmeric, like those are all will cure you. Those are the examples of things that would be a violation of our policy. Anything that would go against World Health Organization recommendations would be a violation of our policy. And so remove is another really important part of our policy.
So you're not just putting the truth next to the lie, you're taking the lie down. That's a pretty aggressive approach.
Despite public statements to Congress, Google has many blacklists, some literally named blacklist.txt. For example, the 8th Amendment of the Constitution of Ireland, shockingly, was blacklisted from YouTube. Public needs to know what's going on.
What recommendations would you have for this legislature to take action to address the issues you address?
My recommendation is subpoenas would be filed against Google for any documents that have the name blacklist.txt related to Google, YouTube, and their news search corpuses. I would also ask that you subpoena their documents related to rankings of media outlets. Machine learning fairness is so huge, I don't even know how you would even swallow that. That is going to be such a huge bombshell that it just needs to get into the public disclosure. So it's those three things: machine learning fairness, blacklists, and their media rankings.
Thank you. And specifically for you, what was the impact of your disclosure?
One of the major stories of 2019, the biggest disclosure by Project Veritas, their biggest story they've ever had. We had two disclosures, one in June when I was anonymous. In August, I came out publicly after being raided by the FBI, including the Bomb Squad, Sheriff's Department, and SFPD, with a standoff that ended at gunpoint. So, and it was all due to a wellness check. And I just didn't want to come out. And so it just kept on escalating, and they shut down the streets from 20th and Valencia to 22nd. And I realized that if I don't come out, they're going to come in. So I came out at gunpoint, surrendered myself, literally Pizzagate, right? And if you look at Google Trends, you'll see that fake news trended one day after the Pizzagate released the files. With the Las Vegas massacre, that allowed them to inject their YouTube blacklist, which didn't exist prior to this event. And from there, it was like basically covering up, rumors that this was a false flag event. And then it went all the way down to, as I noted, the Eighth Amendment to the Constitution of Ireland, right? And the last term that I saw when I disclosed this list was AMLO. Now, what does AMLO mean? That is the nickname of the Mexican president at the time. So, they started off possibly with noble goals, but at the end, they were censoring constitutional amendments for our allies and presidential candidates in other countries.
Well, how important is it that these subpoenas have been approved to go out? And do you know yet what specifically you'll be asking for?
Texas Senate committees have subpoena power. We rarely use it. It's a big deal. We used it a couple of years ago against BlackRock, State Street, those firms through ESG that are taking Texas money and using it against us. We used it then, and we're using it now. It takes a 2/3 vote in the committee to do this because it's a big deal. Grant, we had a unanimous vote. Every Republican and every Democrat authorized me as the chair to issue these subpoenas to get this information because this affects everyone. You had Professor Epstein. It was a great clip you played. He also told us in the hearing, I'm not a Republican. I lean left. But it's wrong for anyone to have this kind of power to manipulate American elections. And he's right. And in Texas, we're not going to stand for it. We're going to shine a light on what they're doing so that everybody can see.
And now everybody will see, because the President of the United States just put it on America's radar. So what this truly means for America is that the machinery once used to tilt information flows is now under sustained scrutiny. The Missouri v. Biden consent decree has been circulated to every Department of Justice attorney, creating a formal record that federal officials crossed into unconstitutional territory. By elevating the whistleblower's account, President Trump draws a direct line from past censorship practices to the corrective actions now underway. Independent outlets like ours, Next News Network, that lost reach during that period, stand to benefit from renewed focus on this accountability. The public record is expanding, and the mechanisms that allowed one company to decide which voices Americans could hear are being examined in the open. Now, the story matters because free speech is the oxygen of self-government. When platforms and officials work together to limit what citizens could see and share, the damage extended far beyond any single channel. The Trump administration's recent steps signal that accountability is no longer abstract. So share this report with others who may have experienced the same restrictions, and comment below with your thoughts. Do you believe the companies involved should face consequences for their role? And make sure you text raw feed to 844-840-4963 to receive direct updates from me that bypass the algorithmic filters. Make sure you check out the Next News merch shelf below this video for new apparel that supports independent journalism. We're going to continue following these developments as they unfold.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now. You know out.